Welcome back to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Max Cohen. This is our preview episode of the massive match for Fulham at the Hawthorns against West Brom. Max, we have a lot to talk about in regards to that match, but we have to start on a match that happened, a couple days ago, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you, and I need Mad Max's view of the goalless draw, the second goalless draw against Brighton Hove Albion. Now, we did a full-time show, but you know what? I'm up for some more talk on it because I haven't heard your view on it, and I'm very curious your thoughts on the draw, Max. So let's just start there.
I hate to be proven right, Russ, but I was. I was on this show a couple weeks ago with Alec Coben, and it was a glass half full, glass half empty. Yeah. And I had to choose empty because I said that we haven't shown what it takes to beat the teams around us when we're not playing like the underdog role. We just haven't shown it. And that's what we saw on Wednesday night. We saw a team that isn't creating chances, isn't finishing the chances we do create, the very few we do create, and deserve to lose. We got lucky with a draw. And it leaves us in a terrible situation, Russ, because yes, there are 19 matches left in the season. We're halfway done. It's not over. But we've 2 wins. You can't be going into this stage of the season with only 2 victories and drawing matches against Brighton. Because the more we pass up matches like that, winnable matches, which if we win, we're back in it, right? The more we pass those up, the more pressure it heaps on the latter half of the campaign.
Yes.
And that's why I have to push back on people saying, "Oh, we'll be fine. There's a lot of football to be played." Yes, there's a lot of football to be played, but the more we give up goalless draws, essentially, the more we're depending on winning out and putting together a stretch of 3 to 4 wins in a row, perhaps, and leaving no margin for error. And
the margin is very small right now, as it is.
Yeah, exactly. And the more we draw, let's say we don't win against West Brom.
Okay.
That means we have to win against a team who's a lot better than West Brom, right? And we haven't really shown an indication of doing that at all, which makes me just so frustrated and pessimistic because I haven't seen this team put together a winning stretch. I haven't seen this team show they can win games in the Premier League. And we're have to win. I think you'd probably agree with me. I think Mike Gregg does analysis. We probably need 6 wins.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
6 more wins, right? And we have 2 all season, okay? So I'm pessimistic right now.
Okay.
Because we passed up a massive chance and we didn't really look like we were up for it. And that's the most frustrating thing.
Okay. And I understand that, and I wanted you to vent and get it all out. Here's my counter to this, and I said this to Emilio, and you might disagree with me. And I was actually saying this to someone just a little bit ago. Who's hurt more by the draw? Because if you hear some of the talk coming out of Brighton, they're really upset about the draw too. They should have won. Fulham should have gotten nothing, right?
Yes. But they're 7 points ahead of us. We're obviously more hurt by the draw.
They're 5 points ahead of us.
5 points. Okay, that's fair. But I mean, come on. We're the one who's in the relegation zone.
Yep.
A draw suits them perfectly fine because that keeps the gap the same.
It keeps it the same, but it doesn't grow it.
We need to leap on
it doesn't grow it. My point is it doesn't grow. They had the opportunity to really open up the gap, and they failed. And I think that could leave some psychological marks. I'm the glass 90% full, but I'll be the first to admit it. But I actually I think that Brighton and Hove Albion, I think that this hurts them a great deal. Listen, it sets us back, but the gap is still the same. For them, I think it hurts because, again, it's against the team that they're probably thinking they need 3 points against, just like we are. So it's a wash. Both matches are a wash. But let's talk about why it was a wash, okay, Max? Because I'm curious your view on this. I'm going to throw a name out there, and you tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. How much did Fulham miss Anthony Robinson in this match? I'm being honest.
Yeah,
how much of a factor?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this, and I want to talk about this because I wanted to really get into talking about this match, and I thought we need to talk about Robinson because it's a domino effect. He stretches them, pushes them back. They're going to be worried about his pace, and everything gets stretched. Whereas we're pinned back, especially in the second half. I'm telling you, I think if Anthony Robinson is in there, we're not pinned back the way that we were. The experiment that at the time I thought, okay, fine, the Bobby Decordova-Reid experiment, it failed. Put Anthony Robinson in there. I think it's a different match, Max. I know it's simplistic to say, but I think Fulham really missed him in this match. And I'll also say that they missed him in the Manchester United match.
I agree. I also think we missed Lookman because he was anonymous. And in this kind of away match against a team in the relegation fight with us, you need your best players to step up and relieve the pressure. And the reason I'm signaling out Lookman right now is because I know he has the quality to do well. Scored the goal against United, has been excellent for us, but he didn't do anything. He just, and I guess he was marked out of the match. Credit to the Brighton defenders. But you're right. I think Decordova-Reid's not a left wing back. No. He's a right wing back. That might be up a stretch, but he's very good in that position. But when you're playing a right-footed player in that position,
that was hard.
There's no width.
No.
So you're missing the overlaps that Robinson brings you. And when Lookman's not really a factor, the entire left side of the pitch became nothing. But that's not to say the right side of the pitch was anything either.
No.
The attack was a joke, Russ. The attack was a joke.
I'm not disagreeing.
No, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just stating what I thought was a big issue is that the Loftus-Cheek chance, right?
Yep.
That's the big chance. What else did we create? I think we probably had 2 other shots on target the entire match.
Yep.
It's you gotta unshackle the team a bit. And I'm not gonna blame Parker per se, but because I don't really think we have the players for that. But I don't know, throwing Kamara or throwing Mitrovic before the 77th minute. We're not giving ourselves an opportunity to go and attack and go at teams. That's what's frustrating. And I don't think we played for a draw in that sense. I think Parker knew we had to win.
Yep.
We just didn't play well. I think Anguissa's feeling the effects of COVID.
Yeah, I think that's evident.
I mean, and then
even though let's just say we don't know for sure that he had it, but we've.
Yeah. That's fair. Likely, that's a good point.
Likely.
But also you have Cavallero up top, and we've talked, to death that issue on this podcast. It's not going to work. So I think we're probably both in agreement. You want Mitrovic on at halftime. I think I agree. He has to start against West Brom.
Yes. And I totally agree that he needs to start against West Brom. But I want to just talk about this because, again, at the half, I just tweeted this out because one of the things that are good markers is, the ability to change. And Scott Parker has changed. He's willing to change. I'd like to see him do it at halftime, change the match. Because the way it was going, Max, it was almost like you kind of knew what was going to happen. It was playing itself out. Sometimes you need to put in a game changer. Mitro is a game changer. So why not do it at halftime? Why do you wait until I think it was around the 77th minute? And then again, you make a substitution, you make a like-for-like substitution, okay? I'm not talking about a like-for-like. I'm talking about a proactive decision to change the match. Bringing on Mitro at halftime would have done that. I truly believe that. We saw it at the end of the match. Imagine if he had a half. And listen, the argument that Mitro doesn't fit Parker's style, there's merit to that. But I think that where there's a will, there's a way. I think there is a role for him. And I have a hopeful feeling that he'll be starting against West Brom. We'll see how Parker can use him. There's a way to use him. And we've seen it at the end of these matches. But I think if you give him 10 minutes, 13 minutes max, it's just not enough.
No. You're right. A player can't really get to grips with the match in that short amount of time. He almost did. He had the effective kind of force. He had a header that almost went in. I think his presence in the box. I mean, honestly, if Loftus-Cheek perhaps cuts that back to Mitrovic instead of going for goal, maybe we're having a different conversation right now.
Yep.
I think also we don't want to play down the impact of Joe Bryan. I think looking back, maybe we start Joe Bryan from left wing back. I don't think he's the greatest option. Of course, every player has their drawbacks. I don't think he's the best defender, but one route to go down is just get those crosses in from the left. Into Mitrovic. And I've criticized in the past, but when nothing is working on the attacking end, maybe you need to go back to basics in a way. Because that's where a lot of the danger came from when Mitrovic came on, was those searching balls coming in from the left. Mitrovic gets his head on it, and we try to push forward and get a goal that way. Because what we're doing now is not working. The main thing I said, I was talking to my dad after the match, and we were both really frustrated. I said, what was our attacking game plan? And neither of us could come up with an answer. Because it wasn't really a counterattack. I can't remember. We had one counterattack with Cavallero. That's one chance. There didn't seem to be any sort of playing in the final third. You know, we weren't threatening in the past with Parker when I've been critical. It's been simple kind of square balls without any penetration in the final third. We didn't really even have possession in the final third.
No.
We were such a non-entity in an attacking sense. And that's why I'm so angry, because it was a must-win match and we didn't really show up to score a goal, Russ.
This is true, Max, but part of the problem, and I said this on Full Time, and I'm curious if you're going to agree with me on this, because when you look at this, there was no presence moving forward. But I think they were also hindered by the fact that they had – anyone that watched tennis will know this term. It's unforced errors. Brighton and Hove Albion did not cause all those problems, Max. It was our own doing. How many times would – and then that forces the pressure. That actually increases the pressure. It was of our own making, Max. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because that's something we have not seen. Because I can give credit to Brighton and Hove Albion being the better side, but I have to give blame to Fulham for these unforced errors of players that we just haven't seen.
Yeah. I think Aina was one of the biggest culprits on Wednesday night, just giving the ball away. To be completely fair, we have seen that in the past a bit. I think he's stabilized in recent months, but he did give away the ball that caused the Newcastle counterattack at St. James's Park. Yep. And he has been shaking that position before. But it was even players like, I think, Otter Abayo made a couple of really simple errors. Still kept the clean sheet, but that is all credit to Areola, who saved us countless times in this match. And he's such an invaluable asset. He's been superb at the back. Without him, we lose this match 2-3-0. And it's even more pessimistic on the show after the match. And as the classic Mike Gregg truism: if your keeper's your man of the match, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just the kind of the gist of my frustration, because I don't really see a way forward in a way. I guess in the ideal world, we get Mitrovic back in form and we get more goals. But again, let's be clear. Mitrovic had a decent cameo at the Amex, but I was talking to Dan Crawford in the Hamian group chat after the Burnley match when he was largely anonymous. I said, Mitrovic didn't do anything today to deserve to start against Brighton. I haven't seen a good performance in the starting 11 in God knows how long, So a lot of issues here that I don't think we can just depend on Mitro to change the situation just like that. I don't know.
Okay, well, I disagree, Max, because he's a good striker. He's a really good striker. I just think that Parker has to find a way to mesh him in the style that he's using. Now, here's something, and I want to give the Fulhamish guys a huge amount of credit, because I actually listened to their podcast. They brought up some good points, and I just want to share them with you. Again, full credit to the guys. They do a great show. The formation that maybe, again, against a team like Brighton, a team especially against West Brom, maybe we go back to a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 rather than this 5 at the back. That it is limiting our opportunities to create based on the formation and how things pan out. Maybe we need to be, again, this goes back to being more proactive. Maybe we need to change the formation to what it was against West Brom. It worked really well. Maybe we need to be taking it to other teams instead of thinking about, okay, we're going to stifle these teams and we'll beat them on the break. Maybe it's time to mix and match your formations and your style of play. Your thoughts on that?
I think that could be an answer. I think it's a compelling argument simply because there's a reason we're not being so creative. It's because we have a lot of players in defensive positions.
Yes.
When you're playing 5 at the back, so much of it rests on your midfield and who's going to create chances. Reed and Anguissa are primarily defensive players. Who's that number 10 player right now?
Well, we know who they're missing right now. Yeah, say Tom Kearney.
Exactly. And I think we're going to talk about the last West Brom match, one of our 2 wins all season.
Yep.
Who was pulling the strings that day? It was Tom Kearney. Haven't seen him. We're missing him massively. But it's also the players aren't stepping up. Loftus-Cheek isn't the answer in a creative sense. He's not consistent. He can't do it week in, week out. He can't even really do it throughout 90 minutes of a match, Russ. Okay. So that to me is a big thing. A lot of people talk about the goal scorer. We're completely lacking goal scorer. Cavalier is awful in a number 9 position. But again, who's creating the chances? I can't think of a top-class creative midfielder. I think we have a top-class box-to-box defensive midfielder in Anguissa.
Yep.
And we have a decent, defensive midfielder, Lamina, Reed, but not someone who can unlock a defense. That's really missing from this team.
Well, I think you're asking Ruben Loftus-Cheek to be that player. And maybe even a little bit Mario Lamina to be that player. He can show the ability to really make that nice pass. We've seen it. So I'm not saying that you can't. I see where you're coming on that, but they need more of that because it is more defensive in nature. And I think that's also why you're seeing the lack of opportunities going forward. Like you said, you are setting up defensively. And I think that also affects how you use Mitro. So maybe it's time, especially since they did not go with this against West Brom, that they be more proactive on the road and they take it to West Brom and maybe not play the three center backs together. Maybe change it up. Just food for thought. Again, I thought I would bring it up because I thought it was a good discussion on the Fulhamish podcast. Okay, Max, before we move on and we start previewing the match, let's end this way because I know you're disappointed, you're frustrated, so am I. So when you look back at this match, what's your biggest takeaway?
I just think the missed opportunity. You're playing the side who's a place above you in a relegation dogfight. And not only do you not get the 3 points, you never even look likely to get the 3 points. And I know I said this at the beginning, but
yep.
It's all well and good. You play a gutsy match against Chelsea, a gutsy match against United. You get a great point on the road to Spurs. But when you're asked to go out and win a match over 90 minutes, and you can't do it against a team like Brighton, who's a team right above you, right in the mix with you. People can say, and I have heard people say, listen, Brighton are a good side. It's a bit of a false position. They'll be higher than that. Well, I don't care. They're there right now. We need to beat the teams directly above us. We couldn't do it. I just still cannot see the game plan for us staying up if we continue to produce performances like that at the Amex. I just can't. And that's the biggest talking point is that what is the Fulham game plan to win a match over 90 minutes? Because I'm not really seeing it right now. And even to say you put in Mitrovic, I don't see the game plan there because we don't really have a creative player right now. And Mitrovic, as we know, is not firing on all cylinders.
Right.
And we're running out of time in a way because we need the wins. And honestly, if 6 wins, we might need more than that. But 6 wins, you probably need 4 or 5 draws along the way as well.
Right.
So that's the next 19 matches. We can only lose like 6 or 7, 8 times. I mean, again, it's such small margins. We have to be perfect in our mini league, essentially.
Yeah.
And this team is not set out to perfection. We can get 19 draws. I'm pretty confident in that. But where are the wins going to come from?
Well, I see a couple matches coming on the horizon that I think they can win. And I'm going to say West Ham.
But didn't you think West Ham are 4th in the league, Ross? Okay. But
I still like the matchup against West Ham. I know where West Ham are. They're playing great.
I agree. But don't you think...
Same thing with Leicester. I feel that they can beat Leicester.
But didn't you think going into this match we could beat Brighton?
I did. I predicted a Fulham victory, but...
So did I. I wanted to win, but that just shatters my confidence,
Well, that's the difference between me and you.
Yeah.
You can live on the dark side a little bit. I like that about you. Me, I'm Captain Positive. What can I tell you? It's a burden. I'm just kidding. Okay. Very good. It's funny because I'm thinking about my biggest talking point, and I guess you could say it's disappointment. Like you said, it was an opportunity lost. If I'm being completely honest, the biggest talking point is opportunity lost, like you're already saying. It was there for them, but then it turned into get the point, right? Get the point. And dare I say they almost won it at the end, which would have been insane. It would have been smash and grab, 100% on a high scale. That would have been a smash and grab. They didn't deserve anything. So in a way, Max, when you say that, right, it's a missed opportunity. They didn't deserve it, but they walked away with a point. There's something to be said about that. See, there's a little positivity for you.
And that's what I love about you, Ross. You always got to I appreciate it.
Okay.
But one thing I do want to say about it, because we haven't mentioned it a lot in this discussion, it's the 29th of January. You got 2 days left in the transfer window, and I'm not optimistic there are going to be any incomings. I hope there will be, but 2 days left. It's not looking likely. Okay. And I know financial fair play is playing a role. I think everyone knows that. You understand it. Nevertheless, you have to plan as a club, and it's a failing that we have not brought in a striker. It's a failing. Simple as that. Okay. Just as it was a failing to go 4 straight matches beginning of the season without central defensive reinforcements.
Okay.
Big teams who want to stay in the Premier League get deals done. It's not easy. No one is saying it's
not easy.
I can imagine it's an incredibly difficult thing to do with agents, with COVID, with the pressure, with the January transfer window. All those things are difficult. But so is staying in the top flight of English football, the best league in the world. And in this position, you need people in positions of power who are 100% focused, because it's a lot harder when you're doing other things on the side.
I know where you're going, Max.
No, that's all I'm going to say. And I've been consistent on that position. I'm not name calling. I'm not insulting. I've been always consistent. If you want Fulham to stay in the Premier League, we need people in power whose sole focus is Fulham Football Club.
Okay. Very interesting coming from you. My thoughts on this is, and I'll say it, I'm with everyone else, that I want Fulham to bring in a striker. This is where I'm going to differ. And Steve Lydiard, if you're listening, bring it, my friend, because you're not going to like what I have to say. Fulham have enough right now to stay in this division. Truly believe it. But that is with the idea that Mitro starts scoring goals. You get goals from Adamola Lookman. You get more goals from Bobby Decordova-Reid. The occasional goal from Cavallero. You get your goals from other sources. But I think that Adamola Lookman can play that role in certain stages along with Mitro. The big factor is you have a striker. You need to play him. And Parker has to figure out a way in his system or change the system that fits Mitro along with his team, because you need him to start scoring goals. You're paying a lot of money to Mitro, Max, a lot of money. He needs to start scoring. So as we all complain about not having a striker, how about pointing the finger a little bit at the striker we have, because we need him to get on a real hot streak. I believe in Mitro. I'm just saying he deserves criticism just like the Cons do for not bringing a striker, because they have one. And if he was firing on all cylinders, we would not be talking about this. Would you agree with me?
Oh, 100% agree. And I think we've not spared Mitro from any criticism. I think we've been quite brutal in saying he's nowhere near good enough.
The Cons deserve criticism. I'm not against that, but we have to call it both ways.
Ross, I agree. In many matches this season, Mitrovic has not been fit to start. He's not been good enough. He doesn't deserve to be in the starting 11. What I would say about the recruitment for a moment is that no team in the Premier League can expect to honestly stay up with one recognized center forward. I mean, name me another team in the top flight that really is only one number 9. Because for us, because you got to go into your bench. You got to go into depth for situations when players lose form. We've had to do that, and we've not been able to turn to another center forward. We've been forced to turn to a left winger who scored 2 goals in 40-odd appearances in Cavallero. That to me is the biggest failing. I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, let's buy, whatever, insert big money center forward.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we don't even have a backup that's acceptable.
Well,
that to me is the biggest indictment of the transfer policy. I understand FFP. I understand it's COVID and difficult to sign players. But we went into the season with one recognized number 9, and that's a failing.
Well, this is all a fair criticism, because you're right. It's Mitro. And can you have some of your other players play that role? The answer is yes, but it's not ideal. So that's why I would want someone else as a complement to Mitro. But I think regardless of, you're not going to get another Mitro in that door right now at the end of the transfer window. You might get a striker, but it's not going to be the be-all to end-all striker. It'll be, I think, a complementary striker to go along with what you have in Mitro. It ultimately is going to come down to Mitro. For me, it's going to come down to him scoring. They need him to score. They need him to get hot. And I think he has the ability to. And that's why this is, again, it's a very difficult conundrum, because in one sense, I like how Fulham play, Max, with the 3 center backs and beating teams on the counter, but Mitro doesn't really fit that. Can he fit that? Hopefully he can. But it's how do you get the most out of him and keep the solid nature of your defense? I think that's the trick. The trick is to unleash us going forward, but to keep us solid defensively. And that's on Parker to figure that out. We need Mitro. Enough of this. They don't have a striker. They actually have one. They have one. It's now time for Mitro to step up.
I agree. Because I really do think a Mitro who's on top of his form can absolutely fit into the system.
Yes.
And I've said this on past shows, the kind of chances that Cavalier got and has squandered and has scored in some instances. The one instance, like the header against Spurs, right?
Yep.
Mitro can score that goal. That wasn't
right.
Cavalier making a 50-yard run in behind and slotting past the keeper with his pace. That's a header from across. And then in other instances, let's think about the Chelsea match, right? When Cavalier put it wide.
Yep.
Again, that's just a run to the box and a cutback.
Yep.
Like Mitrovic can do those things. The issue is, as you mentioned, he's not on form. And that's one of the biggest challenges for a manager is managing your player's psychological state because strike is all about confidence, and he has none of it right now.
He has none.
He's a very confident player. Someone who's always held himself with swagger and belief. And we're witnessing, a real lack of that. And how do you put that back in? How do you reinforce that? I don't have the answer.
2 goals. I think the floodgates open.
That's true. Hopefully.
He just needs to start. He needs to get going. Once he starts, I'm telling you, we're going to see the Mitro that we saw a few seasons ago. I truly believe that. He's good enough to score goals in the Premier League. No one can convince me that I'm wrong there. I'm sorry. He's good enough. So that's where we're going to go on that. Okay. Coming up next, Max and I preview the upcoming huge match against West Brom. Okay, my friend, let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Let's start with your thoughts on West Brom. It's funny. They changed with Allardyce, and I was talking to my friend Andy, who did the relegation show. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but Andy is very negative on his team, and but he's willing to be proven wrong. So let me get your thoughts. Your thoughts on West Brom heading into this match. Do you have a fear of them? Or do you think that they're going to get that new manager bounce now because Fulham are coming to town? What are your thoughts about West Brom?
I think confidence will be low. I mean, they just got battered 5-0 by City at home.
Do you think that benefits us or hurts us?
I think it benefits us. I think no team wants to play after losing that badly. And yeah, it will give them a bit of motivation, but mainly it will sap. I mean, we know all too well from 2018-19 of the toll it takes just to ship so many goals week in, week out.
Yeah.
And have to play again next week. We never really got the benefit of
side on top of it.
But listen, they had that win away at Wolves, who might also be sucked into the relegation conversation. But I mean, that was a very impressive win in terms of winning away from home and coming back from a deficit, I believe. So, and we've also seen them get a result away to Anfield, which, by the time I've said that, maybe it's no longer impressive considering what Burnley did to them, et cetera.
It's crazy.
Newcastle got a point against Liverpool. So it's definitely a side that you can't write them off. I think they're 2 points behind us at the moment. They're within touching distance.
We have a game in hand.
We have a game in hand for sure, but it's no longer a situation where I think it was a couple of weeks ago when it was so clearly Sheffield United, West Brom are down and we're fighting against the teams above us to stay up. Right now, I think, even Sheffield United have got 2 wins just like that, have the same amount of wins as we do. So in this instance, I don't think West Brom are a team that I fear per se. I think we should have the quality to beat them.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a resurgence there. Allardyce will probably take some credit for it. I don't know if he's the right answer. But we should win this game, but it will be difficult. It will be difficult.
Okay. Let's get into it. Let's talk about key players tomorrow. Before we get to talking about starting 11, let's just talk about a general idea of who's going to play. We have a general idea. We don't know about Mitro, but just in general, who are the key players for Fulham against a team like West Brom? Because, again, the last time these teams played, Fulham bossed it. They totally bossed it. So does Scott Parker go with that type of attitude again? Does he look back at what happened the last time, or does he go with what he's been doing lately and we're playing teams on the counter again? We're playing with the 3 center backs. Or is he more daring?
Yeah, I think.
So what are your thoughts? Because I think this affects who you would think would be a key player in this match.
I think for me, Loftus-Cheek is a big player. This is a match where he has to shine in midfield. And because we've seen glimpses of it, most certainly during the United match, when he can take players on in the counter, start attacks, body players off, move quickly, which we need. I think it's going to be a big match for him. Mitrovic, we've talked about, that's a given.
Yep.
I hope he starts. If he does, he needs to prove himself. And he's had a point to prove for a while now, but we haven't quite seen the impetus behind that. But I think he can get goals. I really hope he can get goals tomorrow. And then another player has to be Robinson. Just coming back from that three-match suspension, he's let the team down. On the flip side, he's been excellent for us. He can provide an outlet down the left wing. And also, I'm counting on him for better delivery. If we do go with Mitrovic, which I hope we do, we're going to need crosses coming in. And he has to know Joe Bryan's breathing down his neck coming off the bench, who I think is the superior crosser of the ball. Although Robinson's a better overall player, he has to pick up his delivery. If all that happens, I think if our players perform, we have the quality to beat them.
Yes.
There's a lot of underperforming going on. Most certainly the people I mentioned, Mitrovic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Yep. Very good. I'm going to share some comments because we have a bunch of them coming in here. Toby Jones, Robinson. I totally agree with that. And again, we started the show by talking about how much Fulham missed him, and I thought they missed him a great deal. Edward Severn's got some great comments as I'm looking back here. Key player. Lookman, I totally agree, Edward. I'm totally there with you. Now, this one's interesting. I am going to share this one. Max, we're going to stop on this one. Ready? Stuart Abry. Key tomorrow is Parker growing a pair and going for it. And Stuart, I'm right there with you. He needs to go for it. What are your thoughts on this, Max? Do you agree with me that we need to be more proactive, less worried about keeping it tight,
yes,
and more trying to figure out ways to get goals? I know it's a balance, but at some point, you just got to go for it. I'm with Stuart on this.
Yes, for sure. The way I see it is we've been playing, not necessarily for a draw, but in recent matches, we've been playing for the 0-0 up to a certain point and then hoping for the 1-0 in the last 20 minutes. This match, a draw does us nothing. We need to win from the start. Yep. So, agree 100% with Stuart. Go for it from the first minute.
Exactly. Stuart's right.
Yeah, because I think what we're really good at, and credit to Parker, is keeping things tight and giving us a chance
we
to
can always
keep
it tight.
Yeah.
If they get the lead, you're going to feel confident, but why not get on the front foot, take it to them? You can always revert. You absolutely can. We've seen it. Why not? This is a team that you should be thinking, okay, I'm going to take it to them. We should be able to score a couple goals on it and get up on them. Really?
Yeah.
And it's funny because, and Toby, you're 100% right about this. Parker loves a 1-0 win. I agree with you. But to get the one goal, you got to be a little bit more proactive. You get the goal, then you can make it tight. Okay? Even though I would be screaming for that second goal. If he wants to do that, fine. But you need to get that goal. And you need to be more proactive about it. You can't be so passive about it. This is, okay, we're going to take advantage of you on the break, and hopefully we'll score. How about taking it to a team? We've done it before.
100%. And I think that's something that's also been missing. Let's remember the Liverpool draw, first 20 or 30 minutes, we took it to Liverpool.
That's my point, Max.
I haven't seen a burst like
even
that
playing
since.
this style, we took it to them. We still did. I haven't seen that every single time. I mean, I've seen glimpses of it, but there's an opportunity here. Take it to this team. You really need to take it to them and get that lead. And we know how good Fulham are when they get a lead. I know it hasn't worked out well lately, but for the most part, they're very good when they get ahead. Okay, my friend, let's move on. So now I'm going to put you in the shoes of Scott Parker. I like doing this, Max, making you Scott Parker. So you're Scott Parker. You dress well. Not that you don't always dress well, but you dress really well. Looking sharp. How does Fulham win this match, Max? What do you do?
Good question. I think it has to start with playing Mitrovic from the first minute. We got to give ourselves a focal point in attack. We've been missing that for a long time now, a player to depend on. If Mitrovic's given that confidence, I can hope he can reclaim some of his old swagger and start with that.
Okay.
What we also must do is, it's a psychological thing mainly, is, as people have mentioned, don't back off. Feel the urgency to get a goal early.
Right.
Put West Brom under pressure. Feel like we're the team who's on the ascendancy instead of kind of ceding possession and, being more passive, right? And I'd say, apart from that, I think Parker's done a good job in the sense of keeping us solid, but we need to be more attacking focused. We need to be more attack minded. I think that starts with starting Mitrovic, an actual goal scorer.
Yep.
And telling this team that a draw isn't good enough, that we simply must get a goal in that first half. Because I think if we take the lead, we're very good at holding a lead and not going to give that thing up, right? Especially to a team like West Brom second bottom. So have that confidence that if we get that early goal, then we can maybe fall back to more comfortable solidity.
Okay.
And maybe that'll be like a treat for them because I love defending. Don't love attacking so much. I get a goal, we can defend the rest of the match. Don't worry, lads.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the Brighton match because this is actually a good point. So I thought they were fairly controlled. I wouldn't say aggressive, but they controlled the play in the opening stages. Why did it all change, Max? You want to know why it changed? Unforced errors. Again, were they worried about making a mistake? That's what it seemed like to me. After they started making one, it really turned into a plethora of mistakes. So they need to get over the unforced errors and they need to start playing their game again. And, I agree with you with Mitrovic, and I think Anthony Robinson needs to come straight back in. I think he will make a big difference against this team. That's going to lead to get to your starting 11, my friend. Let's get to it. Give me your starting 11.
I think the back Ariel in goal for sure. I do think I'm going to go with the back five, even though I've not been loving it. But Robinson, Aina, Anderson, Adebayo, and I think it's tough because Tete or Decadova-Reid.
I would still go with Tete.
I think I'll go Tete. I'd say Ngisa Lamina.
Now this is where it gets interesting. Yeah. Okay,
Ngisa Lamina, and then so that's the two holders, right?
Yeah.
So 7. So 3 more attackers left. I'd say Mitro, Lookman, Loftus-Cheek in that sense. So kind of a 5-2-3 formation in that sense.
Okay. And then becomes the rub because Ruben Loftus-Cheek is probably out on the right. And he's probably not going to be effective on the right. So I understand where you're going. And I could actually see that happening. I could see him being out on the right. I've seen it. I just don't think that you get a lot out of him when he's on the right. He needs to play a central role. But you're right. If that's how that could play out the way that you're saying it, Max. Would you feel confident with that lineup?
I would just purely because we have Mitrovic and Robinson returning to the starting 11. I think those will be the key players. But I think it's a good point, right? Loftus-Cheek is not a natural winger. I might say play Decadova-Reid in that right wing position. That might be where you're leaning. A wild card, you play Abubakar Kamara. That could be the X factor.
No,
I'm a big Kamara fan. I know people are not going to agree with me. He's probably better off the bench.
Kamara, no.
But I'll put it to you this way.
Okay.
We can't score goals for our life. Why not take a chance? But again, I understand he's not.
If you're asking me the difference between, like, say, Kamara and Cavallero, I'm going Kamara. Okay, fine. But I'm done with the Ivan Cavallero experiment. I'm done.
So would you rather? Because I can totally see the critique of Loftus-Cheek on the right isn't effective. Would you? Yeah, you do Decadova-Reid up there because he is our top scorer after all.
I would put Bobby Decadova-Reid on the right. But then again, with the formation, then you're dealing with 2 real central midfielders, because then you're having Mitro as being really that central figure, that striker. So then you would have Lookman on the left, and you would have Bobby Decadova-Reid on the right, and then you have Lamina and Ngisa central.
Yeah.
That could work.
I guess if you want to do the back 4, though, the back 4 does free up more options, right?
Yeah.
The back 4, you could say.
Well, see, that's where I'm kind of going. I'm thinking you change the formation. But
then we can do 4-2-3-1. Then you do someone like Robinson left, the Adebayo, Anderson center backs, Tete, and you can still have the 2 holding Ngisa, Lamina, and then you can have Loftus-Cheek as the center attack midfielder. Yeah. Then you can have Lookman, Decadova-Reid, and you have Mitro.
Right.
That's a decent lineup. That's attacking. Right. What I would say, though, is
and then you really are just taking Aina out. You're taking Aina,
which I'm okay with because he's not the strongest central defender, and Robinson's a better left back than he is.
See, I kind of like that better. I like going back to a back 4 for this match. I like that. I really do like that. Will he do that? I don't know. I hope he goes back to it. I think it's worth giving it a shot. You can always switch it back, man. You can always go back and change it during the match if you have to. You can. But I'd say be more proactive. That's my thoughts on it. All right, my friend. All right, everyone who's watching live, It's time to get to it, my friends. Let's do it. Give me your prediction. Max, give me your prediction.
I cannot predict a loss. I can't. And also, I can't predict a draw. I need to predict a win. I feel a win.
You have to pick a win.
I think it will be West Bromwich Albion 1, Fulham 2.
Okay.
That's what I feel.
All right. Steve Lydiard, are you listening? 3-1 to Fulham. Yeah, I said it. 3-1 to Fulham.
The golden prediction.
Who's gonna score the 3 goals? It's a Mitro hat trick. 3-1 to Fulham. You heard it from me.
Wow.
3-1. You hearing that, Steve? 3-1 to Fulham. Okay. All right. And I know that he's listening. I know he is totally listening. Okay. Max, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this. It's funny. Our schedules have been crazy. It's been difficult to really find time to do shows. So thank you. Again, we were mixing our schedules, just trying to do this show because I desperately wanted to do a show with you. We wanted to do also get the gang back together and do one with Giannis. Unfortunately, Giannis' schedule was crazy today. It was supposed to be the 3 of us, which would have been fantastic. But it's still the 2 of us, which is still good. You're just stuck with me. I feel bad for you because at least you would have Giannis, but you're stuck with me here. Okay. I got a ton of predictions. Here we go. And they're all over the place. So we'll start with Brendan Cronin. 2-1 to West Brom. I know I understand where Brendan's going on that. I disagree with you, Brendan. Robin Pendro, 2-0 to Fulham. Edward Severn, a lot of good comments from him. 2-0 to Fulham. Okay. Let's see. Steve Lydiard's already said this, so already said, based on Wednesday, 2-1 to West Brom. Okay. Julie Newton, 0-1, obviously a Fulham victory. Oh, Toby, no, I can't do another one. We draw again and we're down. No. Come on. Okay, let's see. Ralph Leach. Mitro to score. And I'm with you on that. Steve. Come on, Steve. 1-0 to West Brom. What have you been watching? West Brom's horrible. We're better, Steve. Come on. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. It's been a long day. All right. Great stuff and great comments from everyone. It's been a great show. Max, final thoughts before we wrap this up.
I'm actually feeling more confident going into the West Brom match than it was the Brighton match because I do think Brighton are a better side than West Brom. And I just have faith that in the sense it'll work out, that Scotty will be really angry, that Scotty will know that this West Brom match is really a season-defining game. I think what he'll say is, listen, it's the end of the January transfer window. We might not be bringing anyone else in, but it's up to you lads, who this is the core of our team. Show us why we deserve to be in the Premier League.
That's right.
I think there can be a really rousing team talk. I think the players will be up for it. And if we're not, it will be a dark day in Fulham Twitter, and I might have to log off.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, it's a good point because there's an opportunity here. And we've named a lot of the players that have an opportunity to step up. Because, the transfer window, and the players are hearing all this. Do you think Mitro wants to hear talk about another striker coming in? Fine, do something about it. Simple as that. Some of the other players, do they want us to keep hearing all the talk that we need this, that we need that? Shut us up. Score some goals. Shut us up. I challenge you guys. Shut us up. I would love it because I will say it again. As constituted right now, Fulham have enough on their side to stay in the Premier League. But they can always use help. I've always said that they could use another striker. They're a striker short. But even if they don't get that player in, they're good enough. I believe that. All right. Well, good stuff, Max, but we do have to wrap this up. For my co-host, Max Cohen, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.